democracy. What they want is another Mubarak. They want somebody else who will act for them like he has for the last 30 years. And Egypt is the back door to Gaza. Egypt, through Sinai, acts as a buffer between the people, the Egyptians, and the people of Palestine in Gaza. And when we were trapped trying to go to Gaza in Sinai, you realise that the Sinai Peninsula is a military zone. The Egyptian army has to have the permission of Israel to move around the Sinai Peninsula. And last week, they were given permission. And why? To control the Bedouin, to shut the tunnels, and to make sure the back door into Gaza is not opened. And we need to make sure that we give support to the Egyptian revolution and put pressure on to hope that an early act of a democratic regime in Egypt would be ending the siege of Gaza and bringing forward freedom for Palestine. And that's why the West is panicking. That's why they do not want to see democracy, because they know there would be that linking up, and that would take place. And Israel is already tightening security within and around Palestine, getting ready, we think, for retribution, but also to make sure that there is no moves made to open the siege of Gaza and open the Rafah crossing. The forces against democracy in Egypt are still huge. The powers of the police state are still there. The fight for democracy has not yet been won. We need to make sure through demonstrations like this, that we give the support that's needed. We make sure that the US and the British government support democracy, not dictatorship. And we also need to make sure there is massive pressure to end the siege of Gaza. Thanks for coming. Make sure we keep up the support and solidarity.
Thanks, you. Now our next speaker is another Stop the War officer who has been in Egypt over the last week in Tahrir Square, bringing the support of the British anti-war movement to the original Egyptian people. Please welcome John Rees.
In Tahrir Square last Tuesday, as on many other occasions, when Muslims went down to pray, they were protected by Egypt's Christians. Tomorrow, I just received this message from my friends in Tahrir Square right now. They have decided that tomorrow will be a day for the martyrs, and that a mass, a Christian mass, will be said in Tahrir Square, and the Christians will be protected by the Muslims. So my message to David Cameron today is this: don't lecture us about British values. I'm interested in Egyptian values. I'm interested in the values of the Egyptian revolution. It's no mistake, you know, that speech is made by Cameron today. Perhaps no mistake, it's made in all places in Munich today. Because the BBC rants this morning about the threat of the Muslim Brotherhood taking over in Egypt, and at the same time the Prime Minister of Britain is ranting in Munich about the threat from the enemy within. Now let's be absolutely clear. What every Muslim I talked to said in Egypt, what every Christian I said to talked in Egypt, what every socialist I talked to said in Egypt, what every trade unionist I talked to in Egypt said, this is a people's revolution against the plutocrats, the murderers, the torturers, the globalizers, the corporations. That's the revolution in Egypt. What incredibly brave people they are. What incredibly brave people they are. Organised so brilliantly. When I went into Tahrir Square, as Tariq said, there was cooperation between the army, at least some of the rank and file soldiers. The rank and file soldier, the squad, he asked to see my identity. I showed him my passport. He then passed me over to a woman in a full burqa who who searched my bag, apologised and said it's for our own safety. Now, I recommend this policy to the British Airports Authority. I would feel safer if instead of searching women in burqas, they allowed women in burqas to do the searching. That would be a value worth having in Britain today. And we all know what the link is between this and war. Because just imagine this for a moment. Just conduct now in your own mind this small thought experiment. What if there had been no war in Iraq? What if there had been no million dead, no occupation? What would now, after Tunis, after Cairo, after Egypt, what would the headline that we would be reading say? I think it would say this: Saddam Hussein's regime shaken to its foundations by mass demonstrations in Baghdad. That's what it would be reading. And that is the way that we would be dealing with all the Arab dictators. It is people power. It is the power of revolution. It is the power of self-organisation, which is the only way that it is worth getting rid of dictators. Now, the Egyptian revolution, as we speak, is on a knife edge. We've seen it this week, the beauty of the revolution occupying Tahrir Square, the ugliness, the depravity, the brutality of those mobs of plainclothes policemen, of hired thugs trying